NFL fans, welcome back to the J All Day Show. We are doing week 4 predictions. I'm going to do an in-depth analysis of every one of these 16 games for week 4. Oh my gosh, what is going on in the NFL? The amount of crazy upsets. Teams that are over 6.5 points against the spread are 9 and 10. It's crazy, man. The upsets keep coming and coming and coming, and we're trying to avoid them. Week 3, I went 8 and 8. Considering all the insane upsets, I'm pretty happy with that. We are 27 wins, 21 losses in all the games so far this year. So we still got a winning record, and that's crazy considering the amount of huge favorites that have lost, especially at home, to very mediocre, if not terrible NFL teams. All right, guys, it's week 4. Let's get into these predictions for the NFL. Before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, it really does help get us into that algorithm and help us grow our channel. We're closing in on 9,000 subscribers, so if you like this video, make sure you consider subscribing to the channel. All right, our first game of the week is Thursday night, a big-time division rival for two teams that absolutely need wins. One has a lot higher expectations this year, and their back is against the wall, and they don't want to lose again, and that's the Dallas Cowboys, who have lost back-to-back home games and seems like forever, man. It's absolutely crazy. Cowboys have looked terrible. Their run defense is not very good at all whatsoever. Dak Prescott has looked pretty mediocre. That rushing offense has also looked very mediocre. Ferguson came back last week and had a good game, so he's going to add another layer to that offense, right? So that's great for the Dallas Cowboys. On the flip side, Daniel Jones, his completion percentage has increased 3 consecutive weeks, right? So Daniel Jones, are we going to keep getting an ascension from him having a number 1 wide receiver in Malik Nabers? Yo, if you follow my content, you saw me pounding the rock talking about Malik Nabers. Him and Brock Bowers were some of my favorite players in the draft, and my tape analysis is proving to be true so far. Malik Nabers, he's the best rookie wide receiver, and it's not even close in my opinion. He's making contested catches. He's making back shoulder catches. He can run all the routes on the tree. He continues to get separation, and I think that's going to be a huge advantage for the Giants in this game. 5.5 points the Giants are getting, right? The Cowboys can't stop the run, and Devin Singletary, and that offensive line have been playing better and better each week, the Giants have, right? So, guess what, guys? I'm going with an underdog in the first spot. I'm going with the Giants to get the W at home. The Cowboys lost back-to-back games at home, and not really close games. They made the game closer at the end against the Ravens, but at one point in that game, they were getting their doors blown off again. And we saw the Saints really come back to reality against a pretty mediocre Philadelphia Eagles defense. You all know I'm a big Birds guy. I'm rocking the Bobby Boucher today, but you know, I'm always repping my Eagles green. And the Eagles defense is, middle of the pack at best, right? So that's why I'm going with the Giants to win this game. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think they win it 23-20 on a last-second field goal. CeeDee Lamb is probably going to have a big game, but I just don't trust that run game. If you can't establish the run, you become super one-dimensional. And I think that's where the Cowboys are at right now. No one's afraid of them running, so they're dropping a bunch of people in the coverage, and Dak Prescott is having trouble navigating when they're dropping like 6-7 guys in the coverage, it seems like, man. It's pretty crazy. I'm going with the Giants 23-20 for our first game on Thursday night. Next, we have another fun game. The Denver Broncos, who massacred every survivor pool across the country. I read somewhere, I can't think of where it was off the top of my head, 80% of all the bets that came into Las Vegas last week were for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to cover the 6.5 point spread. Or it might have been 5.5, but either way. Vegas cleaned up. They obliterated bettors last week. Woo, baby. But can the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix keep that magic up with back-to-back road games? Now they got to go north a little bit to go play the Jets in Jersey. The Jets look really good the week before. They've had some extra time off too, right? So they played last Thursday, so you get that Jets defense on extra rest. I'm going with the Jets in a pretty one-sided game. I'm saying 27-17. The Jets win this game. That defense is really, really good. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were missing a lot of that core of that defense. So I just don't see how Bo Nix is going to be this successful against the Jets, right? And the Jets don't rely on one wide receiver, so Pat Surtain's probably going to cover Garrett Wilson, right? But he loves to go to the tight ends and throw to the running backs. I mean, a lot of Aaron Rodgers' game now is under 12 yards, right? So I think the Jets are going to dink and dunk their way to a victory. I don't see the Broncos scoring a lot of points. I'm only giving them 17 on a garbage time touchdown towards the end of the game. So that's why I'm going 27-17 for the Jets to get the W. Next up, my favorite game of the week. Minnesota Vikings have been destroying the NFL, right? They look great. They're running the ball effectively. Sam Darnold is looking like he has a resurgence to his career. They're hoping they get Jordan Addison back. We'll have to check the injury report on that because there's a slew of injuries this week, guys. I have a whole list of injuries I got to go over with you guys today. It's absolutely crazy. But some tests came back on Sam Darnold's knee that came back negative, so he's likely going to play this weekend versus the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. They're getting 2.5 points. I like the Vikings to win this game. I think Aaron Jones has got revenge on his mind, and they're going to run the ball down the Packers' throat, and the Packers, look what happened against them with Saquon Barkley. They're not a great rush defense by any stretch of the imagination. And when you run the ball effectively, that opens up things down the field with play action for Justin Jefferson, right? And I just don't think Jair Alexander is good enough to cover Justin Jefferson one-on-one. So that's going to open up things for other receivers for the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm going for the Minnesota Vikings to get an upset this week in a close game, 27-24. Our next game is another game that I really, really like, especially for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you watch my channel and you're a member, $4.99 a month, you get all my bets. I had two great money line bets last week. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Packers cashed huge for us. So just with those bets alone, if you follow just my money line bets, you are extremely positive so far this year. We're absolutely dominating our money line bets. Back to the game. Steelers at the Colts. This Steelers defense is going to wreak havoc on a mediocre offensive line and a mediocre Anthony Richardson, right? I watched the Colts game again. Anthony Richardson has some of the best arm talent in the NFL. But the one thing he does not have is touch, right? You could rip the ball 400 miles an hour at your receivers, but if they can't catch it, it doesn't matter, right? Every throw, he's like a relief pitcher that throws 110 miles an hour but can't throw it over the plate, right? So you got to have a little touch, man, a little finesse. You don't need to throw every pass as hard as you possibly can, man, because one, it ruins your accuracy, and two, it's hard as hell to catch those balls, man. You got to lead your receivers, man. On little short throws, he's still rocking it at the receivers. I get you want to get it into the tight windows, but man, a little touch and a little finesse goes a long way in the NFL. And if you're going to keep throwing these laser beams, it took Brett Favre a while to figure that out too, and Aaron Rodgers, where you don't need to throw the ball 500 miles an hour at your receivers. The same thing with Matt Stafford when he was younger in his career. He was throwing every football 110 miles an hour and it was clanging off receivers' hands. You got to help your receivers out a little bit. It's hard enough catching a ball in the NFL with these monsters coming in to smoke you, right? So Anthony Richardson, I like the Steelers to dominate this game, right? I think they're going to run the ball effectively with Najee Harris, who is questionable. And their offensive line is a little banged up, but they have shown perseverance that the next man up has worked well so far for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I look for that to continue against a very mediocre Colts team. It's probably going to be a little closer. That's why 40 points over and under and only a 2-point spread. But I think, a 20-13 score is where this is going to be at. Maybe 21, 23, 13, something like that. But I'm going to go 20-13. The Pittsburgh Steelers get a big road victory over an inaccurate Anthony Richardson, who's going to be running for his life. Highsmith is on the questionable list as well, so we have to keep an eye on these injuries. I'll do another spread video like I always do on Fridays for you guys to kind of update you on some injuries and stuff like that. But I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers 2013. Next up is my Philadelphia Eagles. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. What a victory last week. They didn't score any points for the first 3 quarters. Then Superman Saquon Barkley came out to play, and oh my gosh, he was unstoppable in the second half of that game against the Saints. And the Eagles defense, Vic Fangio, he's doing the best he can with the personnel that he has. Personnel-wise, not the greatest defense. The pass rush is definitely a concern. So are the linebackers, but they did play a little bit better last week. Tampa Bay laid the biggest egg of the year, getting blown out by Bo Nix and the Broncos. Sean Payton has Tampa Bay's number. I don't know what the hell or why. It doesn't matter who's playing. He just always dominates the Buccaneers. It doesn't make any sense to me. But the Buccaneers are still good. We'll have to see if they're going to get healthy. A lot of that defense is still injured and not playing. And if they're like Antoine Winfield is still out, Vita Vea is still out, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game. I don't like that they're 2.5-point favorites. I don't know how the Eagles are favorites. It's just probably because that Buccaneers performance was so bad. And Pat Surtain really shut down Mike Evans. And Baker Mayfield continues to hold the ball too long. I think Fangio is going to need to watch that tape and see what the Broncos did and really scheme up some more blitzes, right? Because when they blitzed Baker Mayfield, he was holding on to the ball too long with his eyes downfield, trying to make plays happen. And that's kind of been a bugaboo for Baker Mayfield's career, right? It's kind of holding on to the football too long, trying to make things happen, let things develop a little bit too long, taking big sacks, taking strip sacks, and throwing picks, right? So the Philadelphia Eagles really need to capitalize on last week's tape and implement that into this week's game plan. I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles in another close game. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring because the Philadelphia Eagles, you got to remember, a lot of guys are in concussion protocol. Devontae Smith got smoked. Lane Johnson's going to be in concussion protocol. I don't know if they're going to play this week. But if Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith are all out, I'm going to switch my pick to the Buccaneers. But if A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, one of them at least plays, and we'll have to see. Fred Johnson did a really good job stepping in for Lane Johnson, so I'm not as concerned about that. And Tyler Steen looked great on the interior part of the line. But we'll have to see. There's a lot of injuries in this game. We'll have to circle back. But right now, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles 17-14, let's say. All right, LA Rams versus the Bears. How the Rams pulled that rabbit out of the hat last week after a game they were getting dominated in. And it looked like the 49ers let off the gas, and Sean McVay, the wizard that he is, brought his team back from the dead. And Matt Stafford, let's just give Matt Stafford his flowers, guys. Clap it up. Clap it up. Matt Stafford getting a W like that against a pretty healthy 49ers defense at the start of that game, right? No Puka Nacua. No Cooper Kupp. An offensive line that's in shambles, man. Matt Stafford, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and if you don't think so, please unsubscribe to the channel. All right, who wins this game? Rams or Bears? I can't pick the Bears. They can't do anything right. They couldn't even establish the run last week against the Colts, who gave up, 500 yards on the ground in the first 2 weeks of the year? And DeAndre Swift is getting paid all that money. Let him run the ball. They gave up on the run too early, and that's why they lost that game. Caleb Williams, your rookie quarterback, should not be throwing the ball 50 times. I don't know who's calling the plays for the Bears, but they need to be fired because that is not a recipe to win in the NFL. Having some rookie with accuracy issues throwing the ball 50 times. 2 more interceptions for Caleb Williams. I look for the Rams to get another road underdog victory, right, guys? They won in the Rams' house last week. They're on the road this week. I think the results are going to be the same. They're way better coached, and I'll take Matt Stafford over Caleb Williams any day of the week. It's not even close. Next up, we have another crazy division game. Woo, baby. Saints at Falcons. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This game is going to be exciting, man. If you're an NFL fan, you got to tune in. Must-see TV, Saints versus the Falcons. Who's going to take control of the NFC South? Is it going to be the Saints? Is it going to be the Falcons? They both didn't look awesome last week. The Saints, I don't know what the hell happened to the Saints. They went from dominating the world to not scoring any points at all. against a very mediocre defense. Derek Carr came back to reality. Kirk Cousins is like the Statue of Liberty back there. He can't even move. It's like that Achilles is not healed at all whatsoever. They probably should have won that game, though. That was definitely pass interference on the Chiefs in the end zone on Kyle Pitts. But the Chiefs get another call. What a surprise. But the Falcons had another opportunity. They had multiple opportunities to win that game. Kirk Cousins could not get it done. I like the Saints defense to control this game. Control Kirk Cousins. Put him on his butt a bunch of times in this game. That's why I'm going with the Saints to get a road victory here. I think it's going to be middle of the road scoring. Let's say 26-20. The Saints get the W. I think Derek Carr bounces back from last week, right? Fangio just schemed that game up great. I don't know what happened, but Kirk Cousins is just so stagnant in the pocket. There was multiple drives where this dude could have just hobbled for 3 yards and picked up a first down, but chooses not to. He's scared to run. That is a huge element in today's NFL. You got to have a quarterback. Look at Josh Allen. That at least can pick you up 3, 4, 5 yards and get a first down. He can't do it, and that's why I'm going with the Saints. All right, next up, we're going to Carolina. Cincinnati Bengals. Oh my God, Joe Burrow. You guys are 0-3. And that defense, I thought the Panthers had the worst defense in the NFL, but the Bengals might be taking that crown, guys. Wow. Jaden Daniels lit them up like he's been playing in the NFL for 10 years. He's got 50,000 yards passing. Absolute domination. I think it was like 4 or 5 of their first drives were all touchdowns. That Bengals defense is banged up and they stink. And one thing that we saw last week from Andy Dalton is he could fit the ball in tight windows, man. He knows how to run an NFL offense. He is leaps and bounds better than Bryce Young. We'll have to see if Adam Thielen's playing. He got an MRI on that hamstring, guy. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think that's the only injury I saw on Carolina. But, oh my gosh, he was lighting it up. He looked great. The Raiders looked super unspirited. I like the Panthers in that. Those 4.5 points look juicy. It was at 5.5 yesterday. Came down to 4.5 after that dumpster fire of a performance by that Bengals defense. But Joey Burrow still looks like he could ball out a little bit, man. Sometimes I wish they would slow the ball down, slow the game flow down, give that defense a breather because they were out there a lot last night and they were getting ripped apart. I'm going with the Panthers. Underdogs at home. The Bengals defense can't stop anyone. It's going to be a close game. I'm thinking like maybe a shootout. I'm saying 28-27. The Panthers win a close game and the Bengals go to 0-4. And people are starting to get on the hot seat. That defensive coordinator may be finding his way out of town. Jaguars at the Texans. I look for the Texans to bounce back. They got their butts whooped by the Vikings. The Vikings just straight elbow drop from the top rope. Macho Man, Randy Savage style. Boom! Dominated the Texans, man, who a lot of people were picking to go to the Super Bowl this year. But hopefully they don't play the Vikings because they got slaughtered. Listen, CJ Stroud was under duress so much. He was pressured on like 60-70% of all of his dropbacks. The offensive line really laid an egg. Tons of penalties, man. They were starting 1st and 15, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 15. They were behind the sticks the entire game. Penalties, bad offensive line play, turnovers. That is the number one recipe on how you lose games in the NFL. All those things happened to the Texans, and that's why they got their butts destroyed. Destroyed by the Vikings. But luckily for them, the Jacksonville Jaguars are terrible. I said this last week. Doug Peterson, who brought a Super Bowl to Philly, and I'll always love him for that. Him and Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if it's a talent issue or a coaching issue. Trevor Lawrence does not look good. The wide receivers don't look good. They look out of sync. The defense can't stop anyone. The secondary for the Jaguars is not very good. The D-line's okay. They haven't been that great. I look for the Texans to bounce back. We really want to see if Joe Mixon's playing. If Joe Mixon's playing, I'm definitely taking the Texans to win this game. I'm going to take them either way, but I'm considering them for my survivor pool pick this week at home to bounce back after a big loss. CJ Stroud is great at just brushing his shoulders off. going to the next week, flushing it, learning from it, and moving on. The Jaguars just look unspirited. They look defeated, and I look for the Texans to blow them out. I think it's going to be a very similar game to the Bills game. I'm saying 35-13, the Texans blow out the Jaguars. Next up, I was considering the 49ers, but how can this line still be at 10? How? Christian McCaffrey is going over to Germany to get that second opinion on his Achilles with a side of stem cells, and Javon Hargraves, he's now done for the year. I mean, the injuries keep piling up. Brock Purdy's dealing with a back injury, right? Debo looks doubtful for this week. Juwan Jennings balled out, so if you're a member and you saw my daily fantasy, I was saying go hard on Juwan Jennings, 49.5 fantasy points. Just another reason why you should join my memberships. I'm going with the Patriots to win this game. The 49ers are in shambles right now, man. And the Patriots have a pretty good defense, right? It's going to be a close game. I think the Patriots maybe steal one like 2017, 17-16, something like that. I don't know how the 49ers win with all these guys out. If Debo plays, I'll switch my pick. But Ayuk has not looked good at all this year. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one. I'm on the fence. But I'm going to go with the Patriots to steal one 2017. The 49ers are just so banged up. They blew that lead against the Rams, who are, the way that roster is constructed, all those people being hurt, not much better than the Patriots right now. Commanders at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are coming back down to earth. And the Commanders, man, Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury has the Commanders rolling. Jaden Daniels. If you followed my draft content, I was pounding my chest. Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in this draft. He's proven me to be right, and that feels pretty damn good. Considering everyone was like, Caleb Williams is a slam dunk number one pick. He wasn't that good, especially the second half of his time at USC. I don't like his attitude. He's always rolling his eyes. That whole exchange with CJ Stroud kind of got on my nerves too. He doesn't seem like he wants to listen to anyone. Jaden Daniels looks humble. He looks coachable. He looks mature. I like the Commanders to win this game on the road. Daniels balls out again because that Cardinals defense is not very good. A lot of injuries on that offensive line for the Cardinals, right? Commanders win this game in a kind of a shootout-ish game. 28-24, Commanders get the dub. Chiefs versus the Chargers. Here's the laundry list of injuries. Joe Alt, MCL sprain, likely out. Left tackle, he's been great. One of the better first-round draft picks this year. Herbert, right ankle sprain. He's in a boot. He's questionable. He's probably more like doubtful to play in this game. Joey Bosa dealing with a hip injury. Right tackle Rashawn Slater, pec injury. He's questionable. Derwin James just got suspended for targeting. Chiefs all day long in dominant fashion. I don't know how the Chargers score any points. I'm saying 31-13. Chiefs dominate this game. That's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs for the Chargers. Who's going to block Chris Jones? Good luck for the Chargers. I like the Chiefs for survivor this week. But that might be the chalk, so you might want to avoid that game. Cleveland Browns versus the Raiders. The battle of the bums. The booty cheek bum Browns and Raiders. What an unspirited piece of garbage game the Raiders played last week. They quit. The whole team quit. Devontae Adams dropping balls. I mean, the whole team, I don't know. Who wins this game? I don't want to even make a prediction because A, who cares? And B, both of these teams suck. I'm sorry if you're a Browns or a Raiders fan. This is just the facts of football. The Browns and the Raiders are both trash. But the Browns have a decent defense. Myles Garrett is dealing with some foot injuries, though. So, without Myles Garrett, they're a totally different team. I don't believe in Deshaun Watson. That offensive line is terrible. Absolutely terrible. 8 sacks. I think Max Crosby and Wilkins get the better of this Browns team, and they bounce back and get a W in a dumpster fire game. 17-13, Raiders over the Browns. It's going to be a low-scoring, high penalty, horrible football-looking game, but Raiders edge it out 17-14. Bills at the Ravens. This is a really exciting game. Next up is the game of the week for Sunday, a very exciting game. The Ravens finally got a win, but the Buffalo Bills train is coming into Baltimore, and they are about to run over Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. They're not going to be able to run the ball like they did last week against this Buffalo Bills team. That is for sure. Josh Allen is the MVP of the NFL right now, and it's not even close. He's been dominating with his legs and his arms. He's got that team playing on all cylinders, man. The Buffalo Bills get this done. I'm saying 26-20. Buffalo Bills dominate this game. But the Ravens defense does pretty good in the red zone and forces Josh Allen to kick some field goals. That's why I think 26-20 is our final score. The Buffalo Bills defense, even though they have some injuries, Sean McDermott has those units playing good. The Baltimore Ravens are really missing defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. You could see it. They almost blew that lead to the Cowboys late last week. They're just not that good. Derrick Henry, he runs so high for me. I don't know. The interior of that offensive line, I don't believe in. The wide receiver room is not very good either, minus Zay Flowers. I'm going with the Bills, 26-20. And then we got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Again, guys, Titans at the Dolphins. Another game that's going to be unfun to watch. Will Levis has been awful all year long. The Titans have been one of the worst, most disappointing teams in the NFL this year. The Miami Dolphins have more talent, but who the heck is going to be the quarterback? Nobody knows, but I can't bet for Will Levis. He's looked so bad. The defensive line's dealing with some injuries as well. I like the Miami Dolphins to win this game in a turd burglar game, 24-23. I think, the teams are going to score some points, but it's going to be a sloppy game. Some turnovers lead to some quick points. That's why I go 24-23 for the Miami Dolphins. Remember, the Dolphins still have Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They didn't play good last week against a good defense in Seattle on the road. That's a tough place to play. They're flying home to Miami. Titans got to go on the road. Miami gets the dub. Seattle at Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions haven't played so good, man. And the Seahawks are rolling, man. 3.5-point dogs makes no sense to me. I think the Lions have some injuries. Marcus Davenport, he's done for the year. It looks like Derek Barnes, the linebacker, knee is going to be out for multiple weeks. And then Sam Laporta dealing with a low ankle sprain. The defense for the Lions is really, really banged up. But can Aiden Hutchinson wreak havoc on a mediocre offensive line? Right? That's the question, right? Can he do enough to mitigate the Detroit Lions defense giving up some points? Because I think they're going to give up some points. But can Aiden Hutchinson do enough? But he's pretty much a one-man band now, man. So it's just like, I originally thought the Lions were going to win this game. But the more I break down the tape, the more I like the Seahawks in this spot. The defense is going to play tough, but Jared Goff plays so good at home. He hasn't played really good yet. So I'm going back and forth on these games. The Seahawks are rolling right now. But the Detroit Lions at home against a not-so-good offensive line. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know what to do, guys. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this Seahawks-Lions game, right? I don't see too many injuries in my report from Seattle, right? So I think the Seattle's coming into this game pretty healthy. We have Leonard Wilkins, ribs, questionable. Byron Murphy, hamstring, questionable. Jerome Baker, linebacker, questionable. So, you know what? I think the defense might be a little banged up for the Seahawks, so I'm rolling with the Detroit Lions here. I think they win a tough, close game. High-scoring game. I'm saying 30-27. The Detroit Lions get it done at home. Both of these defenses give up some points. But Jared Goff at home has his best game of the year to win 30-27. Don't forget, guys, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you. If you made it to the end, you are a true J All Day Sports Show fan, and I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And if you're interested in any of my bets or survivor picks or members-only content that includes daily fantasy, on Fridays, all my content, I put out 3 to 5 videos every Friday just for members only, $4.99 a month. My moneyline bets are crushing it. I'm going to give you one, Pittsburgh Steelers. money line this week. That's one of my bets. If you want my other bets, make sure you join my memberships. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe.